things.
Okay, so we're just going to get into it?
You decided to start the recording this time. Look at
I did. I'm a professional.
Did you see which
after 4 times of saying it?
What? See which logo I gave thumbs up on?
Oh, no, not yet. I haven't looked at the poll. But let's not talk about that. Let's not talk about it.
Right.
We're live.
Yeah.
I'm barely live.
Pico Electronics and General Instruments decided to do their first collaboration together. And when they did that, what they decided to do was to squeeze 2,300 transistors of a 4-bit MPU into a 16-pin package. I think I said all that correctly. Yeah. This would create Intel's 4004, which is recognized, although some would say arguably, as the world's first microprocessor. The year was 1971, and this is episode 71 of PHP Ugly. Coincidence? I think not. Welcome, gentlemen. Thomas, John, how's it going?
Eric, it's going well. I love these intros. They make me laugh.
Someone has to.
Side note, the Earth is covered, 71% of the Earth is covered in water. That was the other thing I had to go with, so.
That one was shorter. You should have gone with that one.
See, I have this issue. I've done years. I think like the last 3 or 4 have been years now, and I got to get off the year thing. I like it better when they're not years, but years are easy, so.
Yeah.
Except for the teenage years.
Gentlemen, how are we doing this week? Getting back on schedule, kind of. We're not recording Thursday, it's Saturday, but getting there.
That's because someone was sick on Thursday. Had no voice.
I was so sick. Yeah, I physically could not record on Thursday. That was entertaining to my family. So I got sick.
What are you talking about?
I got sick, Thomas, Wednesday night, and I'm one of these guys who has a record of how long he hasn't thrown up. I'm a worst thrower upper in the world. I'm really? Like wailing around, and when I puke, it's unpleasant to my family, my neighbors, and anybody else around me.
It's unpleasant listening to it right now, just so you know.
Yeah, dog loves it though.
So unfortunately, I ended up in that state Wednesday night, and Thursday, although I was Wednesday
Tuesday
morning,
night, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was Tuesday night, Wednesday morning, sick all day Wednesday. I slept through Wednesday. Thursday, I'm feeling better. I'm like 80%, but my voice is completely gone. And I had no indication that my voice is gone until my wife asked me in the morning, "Are you feeling better?" I'm like, I was like, what the hell was that? And I keep trying to clear my throat, and all day long, I'm talking like that. It was horrible.
He showed up to Holy Crepe, our little co-working thing. It was just the funniest thing. We're trying to get him to talk just to listen to him.
So yeah, recording Thursday was just not an option for me, unfortunately.
Yeah, that's fine. I was fighting with children anyways. School's starting back up soon.
Yeah.
And I could not be more excited.
How are you liking school in Colorado?
I don't care.
They're just out of the house.
Yeah. I think they like it. I mean, we moved here specifically for the school district, and it's so far it seems to be pretty good. But, they're teenagers. Nothing is enjoyable. Nothing is acceptable.
No.
It's shocking.
Yeah.
Glad I don't have to deal with that yet.
Oh, but you will.
Yeah.
See, this is why I made you stop at 2.
Because you had so much say in it.
Well, I said a lot. I did say over and over and over again, you better fucking stop right now.
And what was weird is like when you were in the bedroom with them and saying it, that was like, that was like a line you crossed there, buddy.
Wow.
No wonder we can't have a third. Thomas keeps showing up in our bedroom.
I am the third, baby.
Oh, man. So you want to hear something silly that happened to me this week?
Of course.
Absolutely.
I've gotten, because of my position and because of the projects that we work with, I'm not constantly coding, for better or for worse. Some may say for better. I say for worse, but I have ended up in a position now where one of our clients is really pushing all these proof of concept projects where they just want us to spin up a proof of concept. Let me see what this looks like, and I'll make a decision on if I want to invest more time into it. So cool. I've been kind of tasked with this proof of concept, these proof of concept projects, which I enjoy. I mean, they have me coding stuff that I never thought I'd be coding and solving problems I didn't really put a lot of thought into. So I like it. The problem is I've gotten to a point where I've got like several applications I'm working on at a time, at almost the same time. So I'll have the editor open to several projects. Then on top of that, I'm working with the team on coding as well. And this week I'm sitting there coding, and I was working with the team on a specific problem, and I was talking about UUIDs and how they're my new favorite thing, and I want them added to this project. And so I got the bright idea that I was going to go ahead and add the UUID myself, and I'll just commit it back so that the developer didn't have to worry about doing it. Because there's a few things you got to do. You got to pull in the package. You got to add an alias. You actually don't have to add a service provider. You just have to add an alias. There's some traits you can create to make creating UUID easier. So I go through all these steps. I've done it several times now, so I kind of know where everything is, how to do it, and I fire it up, and then I go to add it to one of the models, and I'm like, what are these models this guy has? Like these models aren't making sense at all. Why does he have this model? I was in a completely different project. So now that project has UUIDs.
Were you talking about yourself though? That's the bigger question. It was one of your POC projects?
Yeah. I actually added it to the LPR project, which has absolutely no need for the UUIDs.
I have no idea what you guys are talking about.
So one of the POC projects I'm working on, which is a blast, I'm enjoying this, is I'm actually working with a couple of things, Google Vision being one of them, where it's the photo recognition. So one of our clients. Not hot dog. One of our clients, they want us to POC what information they can get back from photo recognition, and they're looking for some specific information and specific situations, and so I'm POCing this stuff together. And that Google Vision, first thing, the APIs are ridiculous, and what you can do with it. I mean, you can throw faces at it, and it'll give you like an idea of, is the person happy? Are they unhappy? What, all these different factors. And so I've been playing with this Google Vision now for about a week and a half. And it's just, I just do a couple lines of code, then I start uploading a bunch of pictures just to see what it tells me about it. Google Vision is
his daughter.
It's fun and it's scary, man. I'm telling you, like I could see a mob boss hiring a coder to do something with this Google Vision. Say, hey, when I talk to somebody in my restaurant, I want to know, who they are, if they're lying to me. Try to see if you can figure out if they're a Fed or not. And I mean, the power that we have now, just through a lot of these public APIs, and like, you're not even paying for anything. You're just using these APIs. It's insane. It's just insane.
Yeah, it's totally terrifying. I swear to God, I actually looked into the facial recognition countering makeup and stuff like that recently.
Really?
Yeah, man, just get
I can
myself a little
I can
paranoid.
kind of see that now. Yeah, after what I figured out what I could do with some of the APIs out there. I kind of understand that.
Yeah, and then just take it the next level. In a situation where a company like Target has these high definition cameras installed that can
Mhm.
observe every single thing, hook that into IBM's Watson to do shopping and brand favoritism analysis, and then pipe that into whatever Facebook analysis you want. And
All of a sudden, your
you know,
cashier is offering you some product, and you're like, "Why are you offering? Yes, I'll take that, but why are you offering that to me?"
yeah, or when you go to pick up the Target card, the Target's branded credit card at the entrance, the APR is based off of your behavior in the store or what they found out about you while you were walking around. And I mean, these aren't theoreticals; these are things that are actually happening.
Yeah,
But only because I pay attention.
and that's just facial recognition. I have long. Now this is the tinfoil hat person in me. I have long suspected and had long kind of had the idea of doing it myself, of these stores and especially like restaurants basically bugging the place. Like that 360 camera I got for the Samsung 360 I used to broadcast the other day. The mic on that thing is so ridiculously sensitive. When we set it up at the Holy Crepes place where we co-work at, and I had it over by the kitchen where the guy makes the crepes, and I could hear the conversation our guys were having at the table they were sitting at. And so
Yeah.
I've always kind of thought, it's like, I bet you restaurants do that all the time. Like they want to hear A, what people are saying about the restaurant, but B, that's where deals are happening. That's where, if I was a bigwig who owned one of these, like if I was a Trump level person who had Trump restaurants, and I knew like these big Wall Street people were going there, eating and drinking, why wouldn't I listen to their conversation? Get a little inside scoop here and there. I've thought that for a while.
Well, and my point has always been, remember that corporations are legally required to act in the investor's best interest against the interest of the public. It's literally illegal to act in the interest of the public at the expense of the investors.
That's a different statement, but yes.
Yes, but I mean, it puts corporations in the position where if the technology is available and profitable, they are required to do it, and that is terrifying to me.
Required?
Yeah, not necessarily. No,
it gets really damn close.
I think you're stretching it there.
Yeah,
just a little bit.
Yeah. Good old Tom. Doom and gloom. I bet
he's trying to get the masses riled up against corporations right now.
I am. I always am.
I'm fine with it. It's just the way you're doing it's funny.
You heard about people messing with automatic driving cars now, self-driving cars?
No.
No more than you're talking about the hacking stuff that they do?
No. This just people putting like a black sticker on a stop sign. A self-driving car will just drive through it. Won't see it.
They don't have to put it over the stop. They just put a black sticker.
Nope. You just have to make it look like not a stop sign to an algorithm, which means very, very little modification.
Really?
Yeah.
No, I have not heard of that.
It's not good.
Yeah, that is scary.
What are you guys been up to?
In that case, you start thinking about just rural places where the stop signs are dirty and you can't see them anyway.
Yeah. Well, it's similar to the facial recognition makeup stuff where it has to be something intended to disrupt. So just a dirty sign won't do it because dirt is somewhat uniform in its behavior.
What does facial recognition makeup? What does that do?
It just makes it so that it's unable to identify where your eye is on your face and if that's a face at all. And
you start having like stripes down across your eye and nose.
I've often thought your face looks like ass, Thomas.
Aw.
He's
have a
painting like
beautiful
he's painting an
face.
eyeball on his cheek, so you can't really tell where the eyes are.
No, it's a lot of non-symmetrical lines drawn on the face.
So you can physically see, like, if you were wearing it right now, could I see the lines, or is it just something like
Yeah.
a camera would pick
Oh
up?
no, I would look like David Bowie.
That's exactly what I was thinking. I was like, oh, you'd walk around looking like David Bowie then.
That's pretty much it.
Okay. All right. And it's funny because in all the futuristic movies and TV shows, people wear makeup like that. Maybe that's why.
That's why. That is
Yeah.
why, because futurists have been discussing this for a long time. And one of the hallmarks of cyberpunk style stories is trying to subvert being auto-detected and marketed to.
Fun stuff, Mr. Doing Gloom. You man, we have got to work on your outlook on life, because you're just. So I watched the new movie. What's all
What
movie
movie
called?
did you watch?
Hacker. Have you guys seen Hacker yet?
Hacker, the singular.
Hacker. Yeah, the singular. Yeah, pretty good movie. Check it out. I thought I was going down the rabbit hole trying to find that German movie again, the No System Safe. I was looking for that one again. Having trouble finding it now, but I kept stumbling across this Hacker movie, which is on. I mean, it's on like all the major, like, I don't know if it's on Netflix or Amazon. I saw it on one of the major streamers. I think it's even might even be on Hulu. I'm not sure. But it's decent. I mean, it does a pretty good job at kind of capturing that whole underground. It was more of the criminal aspect of hacking and taking people's money, and kind of some of the scams that people pull. I thought it was good. Oh, speaking of that, man, you want to hear something weird? So last week, I let you guys know my dad passed away. So we're dealing with all that stuff. Had to write an obituary for my dad, which was a really weird feeling, dude. I mean, it's bizarre. But I had somebody call me, and they said that they were a creditor who needed to reconcile an account with the estate of my dad, and if I was authorized to handle the estate. I'm like, yes. My mother and my sister and myself are all sharing that responsibility. What's your claim? What are you saying? And like, well, we need to validate that you're the right person. What was your dad's date of birth? So I give him the date of birth, and he's like, well, it's public record. It will literally be in the obituary.
Okay.
They said, well, that doesn't match our record. We need his last four of his social. I'm like, yeah, you're not getting his last four of his social. Who are you? Like, I'm not authorized to tell you until we validate your identity. I'm like, well, I'm not authorized to tell you. Huh?
I have the same problem right now.
Do tell. Would I not give you my dad's last four? Was it you calling me?
I'm having a really hard time scamming this one guy. He just won't give me the last four. No, I keep getting a call from a creditor, and they keep saying, well, we need to validate who you are, and we need the last four of your social. And I'm like, well, you're calling me. Mm-hmm. So what is this? Who is this? Well, we can't tell you who this is until we validate your information. I'm like, then you're never going to collect from me.
Right. And this is what I told him. I'm like, I told him, I'm like, I can't give you any more information till I validate who you are.
Right.
And he's like, oh, I guess we're at a standoff. I'm like, oh, I guess so. Yeah,
we absolutely are. And this collections agency keeps calling me. They keep trying. And every time it's the same thing. Every time, well, can we validate you with the last four of your social? No, you cannot. Yeah. What are you calling about? I'm afraid I can't tell you. Well, I'm afraid you're going to get stiffed on that bill then.
Yeah. Exactly. Tell me who you're calling from. I'll look up the number and call back myself. It's the only way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. I hate people.
I'm not the biggest fan either.
I had a pretty crappy week myself.
Oh no.
Well, I know your children are sick. What else is going on?
Well, there's that. Yeah, both kids being sick tonight sucks.
They've caught the
Um,
wave.
No, so
Zing!
I had a for one of our clients, I had a big project that I worked on, basically rewriting their entire advanced search, and they put it into beta and moved a couple hundred users over to it, and it seemed to be so successful. Everything was fine that they launched it into production, and just problem after problem after problem, to where they almost lost a huge deal because of it, and it made for a really crappy day when things just don't go right. So we ended up having to revert that in production, which is never fun.
Oh,
Then the next day, for one of the, for lack of better wording, it's a microservice. I needed to upgrade an SSL certificate, and it's using OpenFire, basically a Jabber server. And through the UI, I upload the certificate, and as soon as I hit send, I'm like, I probably should wait till after hours. But it took it and it said, hey, you've updated the certificate, you need to restart. I'm like, okay, I won't restart till after hours. Walk away for a few minutes, come back to a bunch of messages of nobody can connect to this thing. I'm like, what do you mean nobody can connect? I didn't change anything. And luckily I read the error message, which most people don't seem to do for some reason. And it said it could not connect. It said nothing about the certificate, right? So I go into the UI, I'm looking at the settings. I try telnetting to the port. The port is not accepting connections. I'm like, that makes no sense. Nothing has changed. And in the UI, that section said it was disabled. All I did was enable it, which I never went to that page, enabled it, resaved, everything worked again. So frustrated. I have no clue how that got disabled.
I love when that's what you have to tell your bosses. Is I don't know how that happened.
Yeah.
I
Working
literally
now.
didn't go to the page and it changed. I don't know what to say. Sucked. Just a bad week when those two things happen back to back. It's like, hey, I almost lost you like a few grand a month. That sucks.
I've had a worse week.
Oh man.
Oh, what? Doom and gloom? No way.
I've been working with files. Do you
Ugh.
guys ever deal with files and file systems?
Yes.
I remember files.
Yeah, just the worst.
Yes.
And because this is a multi-server distributed environment, the files can't be hosted on the local machine because they get processed by other machines, or you could be on a different machine just by refreshing the page.
Mhm.
So they get uploaded to Rackspace, which sucks. And it just gets worse from there. And it's literally it's just one program. It's just 1,000 lines, but it's taken the entire week to just do small tweaks on it because of how crappy dealing with file systems is.
Are you
Like-
using is this a Laravel app? Are you using Fly System?
I am.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's still having these struggles, huh?
Oh yeah. No, Fly System is just a wrapper. It really doesn't provide a whole lot as far as fixing the problems that exist when you're dealing with file systems. Like moving a file to a directory. If the directory doesn't exist, then you're dead in the water. You get a fatal error. Which it's like, well, could you add the tag on there to make sure it forces creation of the directory? No, can't do that. No,
You could do
can't
it.
do that.
Well, you could do what one of our clients does and NFS mount all the places that are shared. It drives me fucking nuts.
Oh,
It's so bad.
yeah.
The worst part is the NFS mounted file system. Some of the files are in Git and some aren't. It just makes it a nightmare for managing it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, like, it wouldn't be such a bad thing, except that it literally took 40 hours to just do some small directory renames, because dealing with files is the worst.
I don't know. It's so much. I don't know that that's worse than almost losing a client a few $1,000s a month.
Yeah, I guess that's not as bad.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah, I'm kind of siding with.
My experience was worse for me than your experience was for me.
That works.
We stumbled across some fun code this week, though. We
yeah?
we have a lot of legacy code we deal with on one of the clients, and one of these code bases really isn't that legacy. It's a Laravel app. I think it's a Laravel 4 app. I don't even think it's a 5 app, but it's a Laravel app.
It's legacy in the sense that it was written to try and bring legacy code into it, and not done very well.
Mm-hmm.
By somebody who really wasn't familiar with how to do things the Laravel way, or they were just kind of hacking through this, and they go through these different steps where he's dealing with a timestamp, and timestamps are just a big issue with this client because of the nature of the product, and so timestamps are very important. But he does this thing where he pulls in this timestamp. He makes sure it's set to Los Angeles. So he sets it to UTC, then he sets it back to Los Angeles, only to set it back to UTC. And he just keeps resetting the zone on this timestamp without ever even using it. And it's just like the weirdest thing. It's like, what is this person doing? It's so bizarre, man. It's bizarre code.
To be fair, I've had times where like bad code has just stacked up or piled up, I guess, where I've done something and just tried to fix it again and then tried to fix it again, and it just ends up.
That's probably exactly what was happening here. Like he tried to he fixed it, and then he's working on something else. He goes, "Oh no, I was expecting this to be UTC," and then so he goes and does another fix. And man, so much fun to deal with. And unfortunately, the developer who's working with it now is not a PHP developer. So he's like looking through the code. I mean, he's a developer. He's a really good developer, actually. So he understands PHP, and he's looking through the code. He's like, calls me over and goes, "Eric, man, this just doesn't make sense, because if I didn't know better, it looks like he's just ping-ponging back and forth on the time zone." I'm like, "No, that's right, David. Good eye."
That's nice catch.
All right, so Tom, before we move on, I got a question for you.
Fire away.
So again, dealing with a legacy database, the table names all camel case. If you had a user client table, which is just a pivot table, then there's going to be an ID in there of user client _ID. Okay. So
Gotcha.
Imagine a database with 500 of these tables. You now have Laravel in the mix, and you're going to create a new feature with new tables. Do you A, keep the camel case table name for uniformity? And what do you do with the ID? Do you keep the table name _ID, or do you go with the just having an ID column?
I tell you, I propose just repairing the bad structure of the database to the client. And if they say too much time, if they say don't do it, then I keep the same standard so that you can script it in the future.
Well, I don't even think it's so much a scripting thing.
Sure. If you wrote a nice script to parse your MySQL dump and then just dump it back out as a fresh new properly named database.
Too many. I mean, you're dealing with legacy code that's doing tons of raw SQL.
Fix that too.
Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't realize it was that easy, John.
Yeah,
we should have just done that to begin with.
Just fix it.
Might as well just rewrite the system in that case.
I think if you've got one database, then you have one schema, theoretical schema. You need to stick to it.
You don't. Okay, so I went the other way. I'm like, well, this legacy code base is the past. We're moving forward with Laravel, so we have this clear delineation of we know where things stopped and or started and didn't.
I would make that clear delineation a new database.
Not a bad idea.
I would say that this is the legacy database. It keeps its legacy naming, and we slowly move over to a whole new database that gets the correct naming schema.
So then you're hitting two
isolate
different
them.
databases.
Yeah, I would isolate them
Mm.
if you can. It's because you don't get to have relationship keys between two databases like that.
Yeah,
Or well, maybe you do. No, you might actually be able to with the current version of MySQL. But
I don't know.
The rest of the database has absolutely 0 foreign keys, which drives me absolutely nuts.
Nice.
I hate it.
You know what drives me nuts? Editing fidget spinners out of audio podcasts.
Point taken.
I mean, if we're gonna name things that drive us nuts, you know. Yeah, no, I would have a new database for the new format if I was gonna try and push for a new format, but it doesn't really matter.
I promise that's a good idea.
No,
You know, that way when the next contractor comes along after you guys, they can go, "What the hell is this?"
Hey, no, we're not going anywhere.
We can't afford to go anywhere, Thomas. Shut up. Losing contracts left and right now. Not losing them, finishing them off. We're finishing up contracts left and right. We had
supposed to do?
Yeah. We were working on. It's funny. We were working on one contract, and I got an email from the person who, I guess, had moved on. They said, "Oh yeah, I'm not with that company anymore, but you know, I've been CEO of 4 or 6 other startups, so it's only a matter of time. I'll reach back out to you guys." I'm like, why do you wear that as a badge? You were CEO of 6 startups. You're not 95 years old. That's not a good record in my book, you know.
I tell you, I have been fired from top companies.
I think CEOs wear it as a badge, though. If they were successful, they move on.
You think?
CEOs are weird.
In startup worlds, yeah, they don't necessarily, unless it was their baby, like a Mark Zuckerberg, that's his baby. He's going to stay with it. But a lot of companies that they get started, they bring on somebody to run the company. That person makes it successful and then moves on.
Good point. I mean, he did go on to say, "I've been CEO of 6 startups and no federal charges have stuck yet."
I don't think it was a bad thing.
Yeah, perhaps you're right. I don't know. I thought it was weird. It's like, yeah, so 6 companies didn't want you running their company anymore. Okay.
Or they sold. Maybe they got bought out and he moved on. It's kind of hard to be CEO of a company that's been.
You're always glass half full. I see my life is such conflict. I got doom and gloom over here, and then the other side, I got bright and shiny John Congdon. You know, everything is good. They're good people. Everybody's good.
You got to have Frank to balance it out.
I don't want him to be listening to me like, I'm not gonna do work with them.
It's okay. Nobody listens to our podcast. That's not true. We have new friends.
We do?
We do.
Who's our new friends?
Devron Baldwin.
What are you talking about?
On Twitter, we get people on Twitter now. We got tweets this week.
Did we?
We did. Devron was laughing about our pronunciation of spatty.
Spatty?
Yeah.
Spotty.
Spotty. We still don't know. And Freak Vanderherten hasn't reached out to us to give us the proper pronunciation. So
friend of the show, Freak Vanderherten.
Friend of the show, Freak Band of Hurtin'. Yeah, we actually had a listener make him listen to our podcast to laugh with him.
And did you see Jonathan Jonathan Wheaton? He now wears the friend of the show badge proudly.
I am so glad to hear that. Although, I mean, it's a bummer for his social status to put that publicly.
Holy cow! Yeah, Freak responded to us. I didn't even see any of this. He says we currently have 3 backend developers. The third one started only a couple days ago. This was because of John and I's conversation. I was telling him that I thought they had fewer developers than we had and was doing way more than we were doing.
Way more. They're far more successful than us.
Yeah, exactly. They're so much more successful than we are with so fewer people. What the hell?
It's that San Diego lifestyle. All you guys do is bask in the sun and surf.
I thought I was paying somebody to watch our social feed. Nobody told me any of this stuff. That is too funny.
Who are you paying?
Somebody.
Is it your daughter? It is your daughter, isn't it?
It may be. Might be. May not be. I don't know.
You're not supposed to call her out as his daughter. It's
although
our social media manager.
I don't think I shared it on the show, but we got called out by a client. I go to a client meeting, and I don't make it a secret. I mean, if anybody wants to know, they know she's my daughter, and if you see her with me, you kind of know she's my daughter. But
that look that teenagers have with their dads is very identifiable,
especially when they're hugging them and putting their arms around them. Yeah.
This doesn't happen. But we went to a client meeting. I had her. Actually, she was the subject of the client meeting, but the client kind of called me out and said, "So you had to hire your daughter to get a woman to work for you?"
Oh.
And I was kind of hurt, and I didn't know how to respond. And my daughter, God bless her soul, stepped right up. She goes, "Well, no, actually, I'm not the first woman working at Diego Dev. Not only am I not the first, but there would have been others, but there's another female who works on another project, and another one had been offered, and I mean she totally defended it, and rightfully, I mean she gave accurate information the whole way through. But I'm like, thank you for answering that, because I would look like a jerk if I had answered that one. And it's kind of a good thing, because in the client's mind, they're our only client, and so they know who they work with on their project, and she knew she wasn't working with any female developers, so she made the assumption we didn't have female developers, and she didn't take into account that we have other clients and other developers who work with those clients. So yeah,
it would have been much funnier if you had interrupted her and just said, honey, please let daddy explain this."
That would have been fantastic. Why didn't I think of that? Damn it.
Because you're a good person. Good people aren't supposed to immediately think of the most offensive thing they could do.
Oh my goodness.
Sweetie, I'll explain it.
The men are talking.
My goodness. Okay, do we want to start going through some news here? Where we
I'd
at?
love to.
We're 40 minutes in.
Can I?
All right.
Can I kick this off? I want to kick this off with
Sure.
With the PHP ugly coverage of the latest chat app.
Oh my goodness! I didn't even read this.
We had a little bit of a run of chat apps. It's been a while since we've had a new chat app, so
We've got it. Yeah, YouTube is now adding a chat system to its mobile application. This is not a sharing system. This is just a straight up chatting while you're on YouTube system, because God knows there aren't enough chat apps out there.
So this is different than the chatting you get when watching a video?
Comments.
Correct. This is person-to-person chatting.
Interesting.
It looks exactly like a chat system should, or does in a billion different instances. It's group chat where you can just attach a YouTube video within the chat, and
Like I said, Google doesn't have enough messaging apps as it is.
right. So I'm really excited that there's a new messaging platform out there, because God knows there's not enough. Discord is adding video and screen sharing to its application.
Discord keeps. See, I think that's going to be a move to get into companies, that screen sharing piece that was missing. Although Slack went a long time without screen sharing, but I'm hearing Discord come up more and more. When we were working with a client and kind of leading him down the path of Slack at the time, Discord, he had heard about Discord, and from his son who's a gamer, is like, no, Dad, you guys should be looking at Discord. And for whatever reason, he like latched onto it. He's like, no, I like the Slack idea, but let's look at Discord. And Discord didn't have all the features that Slack had at the time, but man, are they making progress on that. I mean, APIs into Discord, and the cost is very competitive. Oh, man.
But it's meant for gamers, not general use.
Well, originally that was the target were gamers, but I think they're coming to the realization of, hey, there's no reason why we can't market to businesses, and they're starting to set that up with the screen sharing and some of these other features that they're coming out with. I think that's what they're starting to target.
I think the thing to pay attention to with Discord is when they change their logo. Because right now their logo is basically an Xbox 360 or Xbox One controller.
Mm-hmm.
And when they decide that they need a new logo that isn't video game centric, that's something to look for. But I'll tell you what, looking at discordapp.com, the homepage says it's time to ditch Skype and TeamSpeak.
Mm-hmm.
So they're not, I mean, they're showing gamers stuff here, but they're not saying just for gamers.
Yeah.
Oh wait,
I think
they
you're right.
do right now. They do right there.
Oh, they do say for gamers?
All-in-one voice and text chat for gamers.
But I think you're right, though, Thomas. I think that's a good observation, to watch those little marketing cues, logo change, that word gamer dropping from more and more of the marketing context. And I think you're right. I think probably within the next 6 to 12 months, we're going to see a big push from Discord to get into the regular business world.
Voice chat that doesn't slow down your game.
Yeah,
my game can't be slowed
focused
down.
on game right now. So,
All right, Eric, what's all this Valet stuff?
all right. So let's talk about Valet for a little bit. Let's talk about some development. I told you a while back that, when I was doing the Docker thing, I ended up landing back onto Valet for a lot of my development, and I still use it today. I like Valet a lot. Valet just came out with a update, so it's like Valet 2.0.5. Not a whole lot in this update. Drivers for Cake PHP, which is funny because I noticed when I spun up a Cake PHP app that my Valet wouldn't work. I'm like, man, I guess I need to write a driver for this. And writing drivers for Valet isn't that difficult. I've never gotten back around to it. It added some support for Craft. It added some support for PHP 7.2. But what was glaringly missing from this release was the ability to switch the version of PHP you're using. This is like one of the most requested features of Valet. And it's actually a pull request I personally have worked on. I even have an open pull request in the Valet repo, unless they closed it, and I'm not aware of it, where I hacked together a way to switch PHP versions. Never got accepted, never got pulled in. And there doesn't seem to be a lot of interest in addressing this feature. So there's that, right? Well, lo and behold, not long after that announcement comes out, I see an announcement for Valet Plus. Like, Valet Plus? What the hell is this? Apparently, somebody's now forked Valet and started to add all these features that have been, polluting the Valet repo that just don't seem to be getting addressed, or our pull requests aren't being accepted. And on top of that list is PHP version switching. So with this Valet Plus, now I haven't installed Valet Plus yet, but with this Valet Plus, it has a lot of features that are kind of missing from the original Valet. Redis, Elasticsearch. I mean, all those things that they mentioned, it's like, okay, the way Valet works, everything is system installed anyway. So I'm not sure when they say MySQL, Redis, Elasticsearch, I'm not really sure what they're referring to, because it's using your system resources. So yeah, you can install whatever you want on your system, but the PHP version switching is very appealing.
Maybe it makes installation of those services easier, so you don't have to think about it.
Yeah, maybe through the Valet install. I mean, the Valet install, and the reason why it's tied to Mac so tightly is because it just uses Brew. So it just does a Brew install of all these services.
Mac people.
Yeah, so but you may be correct there, and I do see that there are some Valet commands now. So you can do like a Valet DB ls, Valet DB create to create a database. So
I like this.
They have put some work into this.
Valet xdebug to turn xdebug on or off.
Yeah, that's another option. I'm not sure in a development environment why you would turn it off, but okay.
It's a performance hit if you don't need it.
Yeah. That's true.
But there's like Valet use 5.6, Valet use 7.0.
I'm curious to give this a try. I'm really curious to give this a try. Because it is addressing a couple of pain points. That PHP switching is a big one. But so there's those things are happening in the Valet world, which again, Valet Mac only. It's using your system resources, which isn't a bad thing. It makes it very fast, and it doesn't take up a lot of space. Actually, no space. I mean, I think the Valet install is megabytes big. So, but before Valet, especially in the Laravel world, everybody used Homestead, and we meant was it Joe Ferguson that does Homestead, John, at PHP Tech?
Yeah.
I think it was Joe, right? Yeah.
Yep.
So they just released Homestead version 6, and again, the thing that caught my eye on this one is that you can define specific PHP versions per site, which I'm not sure in my head how that's working, because
PHP FPM. You can run multiple FPM instances at the same time. Yeah, because Nginx just connects to the FPM.
That's true.
So you can tell Nginx use FPM 1, use FPM 2, use FPM 3.
That's true. I bet you that's what they're doing. Oh, so now in Homestead, each site you define can have a different version of PHP. 5.6, 7.0, 7.1. Which, again, in our world right now, in the PHP development world, that is so crucial. People are switching versions so quickly, and you're working in so many environments that have these mixed versions between 5.6 and 7, 7.1, and at the
7.2 is almost good to go.
And at the pace that they're releasing PHP, this requirement of being able to identify different versions of PHP in your development environment isn't going to go away anytime soon. So I'm really happy to see this.
So Homestead is just pre-installing all the versions for you, so you don't have to figure out how to install it in your VM. They're setting up the FPMs. Yeah.
So Homestead, again, to bring everybody else up to speed, is a Vagrant box, so it's a complete VM. The biggest downside with using Homestead is space. If you're on a laptop or something, or you have limited space of Vagrant stock and can have a tendency to eat that space up, but
Resources,
still a
memory
great solution.
intensive. Yeah.
This is true too. Yep, CPU, memory intensive, but it's still a very valid solution for development. So yeah, that's my little rundown of new development environments. Yeah, it's a lot of fun stuff going on out there. All right, who's next? Did we do this one already?
No. Read the title.
Web development trends. Oh, in
2018. Looking
Oh.
forward. So there's really only one thing on here that I was interested in, and it was progressive web applications. Have you guys seen this?
Yes.
I have. And I just listened to another podcast today about this.
This is going to be the thing next year. Don't be mistaken. If you don't know it, if you don't learn it now, you're going to be behind the curve. Because this is what people are going to be asking for. And this is a method for basically offlining websites as apps on mobile devices. I'm not getting into it yet.
Isn't it also having websites like the mobile device application and the website be the same thing?
Essentially, yeah.
Right.
It's basically making your website do work on the bare minimum browser, and then as the capabilities increase, you increase what your web app can do.
Right. It is a lot of things. It's not, again, this is, trends of next year, so it's not currently the biggest thing out there. But there's a quote here that says the e-commerce website Flipkart experienced a 70% increase in conversions and tripled the time spent on their site after launching the PWA version of their site. Which, holy shit, 70% is huge. That is unbelievably huge. It is, however, device specific. Fewer features on iOS than on Android platforms, but things are going to change. And I think, if you're in the tech world, learning PWAs is going to be an important thing very soon.
I agree. It's funny. They also make a mention of Laravel on here too, huh?
Yeah, I think the community at large is starting to recognize Laravel as the really dominant platform for PHP development.
You know what I don't see on here? Let me just do a quick search here, just make sure I'm not missing it. Yeah, I don't see GraphQL on here. Are you guys familiar with GraphQL?
No.
I think that to me has a ton of interesting things about it. So GraphQL, I know Facebook is one of the big things behind it, but what GraphQL does is, my understanding of it right now is that it basically eliminates API endpoints. Like, there are no API endpoints. The GraphQL knows the data and knows the application. So you have one endpoint now, the GraphQL endpoint, and you ask it for the data you want to see. And there's formats to ask for that data. So there's not an endpoint for users and an endpoint for classes. There's just an endpoint that you can ask for users and ask for classes.
Hey, GraphQL, can I have Eric's dad's last four of his social?
Exactly. So the idea is that you don't spend this development time. So I'm super. I do a lot of API stuff, so this is really interesting to me, and I've been meaning to dive a little deeper into it, and I haven't had the opportunity. So I'm kind of surprised not see it not on this list. Maybe it's not as big of a thing as I am anticipating it becoming. But
I thought GraphQL was all about just relationships and nodes.
I don't think
managing
so.
like who likes what
No.
and who's
Mm.
connected to who.
No. You're thinking of a graph database is what you're thinking
Mhm.
of.
Oh, like
this is-
Node4j or something like that.
Yeah. This is
Yeah.
different. This is not, but it might be the same premise. It might be that premise actually, where again it's kind of that the GraphQL or the graph database understands all these relationships, and so you don't have these endpoints. So I don't, like I said, the GraphQL is like the marketing thing that's being spoken a lot about now, and I haven't looked into it and seen. I don't know if there's a direct tie to a graph database or not, but it sounds to me very much along the same concept of the way you would query a graph database is how you query GraphQL.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah. Single page web apps, push notifications for websites. That's really
Yeah, the rest of it's all
you know.
junk. Also, if you use push notifications on your website, screw you.
Every website I go to now, that little box pops up.
We want to send you
We would like
notifications.
permission to, yeah. I'm like, nope.
Nope.
Either notifications or location. Every damn site.
I went to go
I
look
hate
at
those
tire
porn
prices,
sites.
and they wanted to get my location. Ugh.
Yeah.
Well, so I did that when at my last job, asked for permission but only when you went to the list of pro shops. It was when I was at bullandball.com. So if you went to look for a pro shop in your area, I'd ask for, can I have your location so I could try and find the best location for you versus you having to type in your zip code.
Right. And what they end up getting is something that is less accurate than if you just typed in your zip code and more invasive than if they just asked for your zip code.
True.
So, it's just unless of course it is really accurate, in which case then they have your cell phone GPS locations, and I don't want them having that anyways.
I think most developers are trying to do the best they can with that information. They're not trying to track you that way, but
I think most developers, given the option, wouldn't do it. I think most developers just sort of go, oh yeah, it's invasive when it's done to me and I don't like it, I won't do it either. But they're told that they have to.
Yeah. No, I was trying new technology, but again, that was back in 2010 when I was doing it.
Yeah, when it came out, it was cool because you could get your friends around and say, look, it can figure out your location from your browser, and everyone went, ooh. but now it's like, look, we can pinpoint you with a missile.
So this next story, I didn't put any cards on this week, but I almost put this one on. I remember reading it.
I love this.
So it's why using Yoda conditions you should probably not be. Hold
on 1 second. I gotta refresh my beverage here.
Every week we're an hour.
It's like we have 5 minutes left. Come on.
I hope you're listening to this while you're editing, Thomas. You do this to us every week.
You could have waited 5 minutes. Oh, you're killing us.
Oh, man.
You're killing us.
Did you make a note of that time, Thomas?
Nope.
We're almost done.
I listen to the whole podcast now. I don't edit based on time anymore.
Okay.
Ooh, listen to you.
I do every week.
Well, not a couple weeks ago. You didn't.
I still did.
Let's
just for practice.
All right. Where should we? Do you want to start that from the beginning?
All right. No, I got it. So I started looking into this Yoda conditions thing a while back. There are articles coming on about it, and it made sense to me at the time. And
it makes sense.
The whole point is, so Yoda conditions is when you're in a conditional, especially an if statement, if this variable equals a string, if you flip-flop that, if string equals variable, you are less likely to mess it up. Because if you did if $name equals John instead of equals, you are assigning, and that is completely legitimate at that point. You're able to do it. So by flip-flopping them, you're not going to break it. If you didn't mean to assign, you won't be assigning. So now there's a new thing coming out. You shouldn't be using them, because when you get to this point, you have to make a conscious decision to flip-flop it.
Right. It's already too late.
Right.
You've already learned how to code. It's already part of you. So now you have to retrain yourself to invert your format.
Right. And if you are stopping to do that, it doesn't matter. You know at that point if you need a single equals or a double equals. Plus, we should all be doing TDD.
See now, but the real argument for me is that there's a parse error generated if you use Yoda conditions, where it says you can't assign a value to a string.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the goal. The goal is to generate parse errors instead of successfully compiling incorrect code.
Mm-hmm.
But the example here of
actually compile it, but yeah.
Well, the parse error occurs on the compile. But the example here is in non-equals conditions, things like if 42 less than the variable force,
Mm-hmm.
which that is a significant problem, because now you are inverting logic of your operators, and that is a nightmare. Maintaining operator logic is one of the most important things for readable code, and inverting it like that, making it not follow the way that things are read in English, is very bad. And this article makes the point that we write in English. We're using grammar and syntax that doesn't belong to English, but we're using it in the English format for grammar. And the reason this is called Yoda conditions is because when you read it out loud, it sounds like Yoda speaking. If Luke Skywalker equals this get name, it doesn't fit the way that we speak. And the article basically states that any benefit that is gained from doing this conditional is lost in readability by everyone who reads the code. It is much, much worse off. So I totally adhere to this. I thought about Yoda conditions a lot a while ago and just never did it because it's something you have to train yourself to do. But after reading this, I don't think there's any reason to promote Yoda conditionals for anyone.
The only reason to do it is if you do it without thinking. If you have to think to do it, then you're losing out anyway.
Yeah.
And if you have tests around your code, it doesn't matter anyway.
Yeah, and that's the point that he makes at the end is hey, yeah, if you're really concerned about assignments in conditionals, then just run a check for assignments in conditionals in your tests. It's really easy to have a PHP-MD that just checks for that one specific problem.
And can I just say, this is an evil-looking Yoda. That's probably
it's evil Yoda. That's the dark side Yoda.
That's the dark side Yoda. He looks dark side. He's got some acne issues too. He should really have looked at. I'm not sure those warts on his forehead are normal.
Do you guys ever do? You see, but you don't know. You're judging before knowing, and that's.
I thought you were moving on.
Frankly, racist.
Did you just do a U-turn? Did you just call me a Yoda racist?
You are a Yoda racist.
I
provoked me.
Offended.
Provoked me the U-turn. The Banthas will hear about this, I tell you.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't even know if that should worry me or not. I'm not even sure who they are.
Banthas are terrifying, yeah. Do you guys ever do postmortems?
Unfortunately, yes.
Yes.
I've never
You
ever
often.
thought about it at all.
What?
What? What do you
I
do
know-
after you have an issue?
Take a nap. That's my immediate reaction to a problem being resolved is I'm tired.
I was not expecting that answer.
You never go back and evaluate what caused the issue, the core of the problem, and how you can protect from it happening again in the future.
I like
find
to
that
sleep
hard
on
believe.
things.
I find that hard to believe. But go ahead.
I've never thought of doing a postmortem as a group effort. I've always thought of a postmortem as an unofficial postmortem. I've always thought of things where like, oh, I screwed up the syntax here, and that's like the third time I've done it, and I'll get yelled at if it happens again, so I should probably make sure not to do that same thing again.
Well, that
But-
is a postmortem.
Yeah. Well,
Right,
I see,
but I've
I see what
never-
he's saying though.
I've never
maybe
done an official postmortem where I've really
This-
written
this might
down.
this might be a real difference between working for a company and a company structure and being a consultant. Because in a company, something to justify a postmortem would have to be pretty significant. I think when I worked at the Fortune 500 company I worked at, I was involved with 2 or 3 postmortems, and all 3 of them made the newspaper. So, but it wasn't.
Jeez.
It
There were
wasn't.
no survivors.
It wasn't a regular occurrence. Now, within the last year, with just like one client, I think I've been involved with 2 or 3 postmortems, and granted, much less significant issues, but justifiably so. The client reached out to us and says, "Hey, I want to do a postmortem on this." So,
See, that's
guess-
never occurred to me. Now,
that's interesting.
I saw this article and I started thinking, because this article is just about how to do a good postmortem,
Mhm.
and it's got a list of how to do it and break things down correctly. But my interest in it was just that I'd never done one. I've had
So let me
situations
say-
where my boss said, "You fucked up," and I said, "Yeah, I fucked up," and then we shook hands and agreed that same thing wasn't going to happen again. But that was quick and dirty and done.
But
Yeah,
here's
but
the
your
thing.
boss is also a developer and understands the issues.
Right.
Well, and then also the boss, that was just between you and your boss, and the rest of the team didn't get an opportunity to. This is the
And
whole
that's
learning
the-
from
that's the-
mistakes.
That's the problem I encountered, is that I realized that in my position, I'm the senior developer. I should be handing down postmortems to the junior developers and saying, "Here's what I did and I screwed up. Here's the lesson to be learned." And it should be a scheduled thing, like Fridays. Hey, Fridays are slow and awful anyways. What if we closed out the week by saying, "Here's what went wrong and here's how we avoid it occurring in the future"?
It shouldn't be every week.
Every week we're just gonna do a postmortem of where
Well,
we fucked up
We have
because we know what's happening.
what I work on is a monolith. And
Yeah,
a
but
monolith is going to have
Postmortems are typically reserved for impactful issues, so things that have potentially cost the company money, productivity. I mean, these little things like, oh, I messed the syntax up on this, this format that I keep screwing up. That's not really postmortem. That's just
But when you
lesson
have-
learned.
when you have 10 developers working full time on a myriad of different projects within a monolith system, how do you properly evaluate when the company is losing money because the communication isn't good between the team? I think establishing a postmortem conversation would improve the communication and save the company money.
I think you're throwing around that word too much now. I would not call that a postmortem.
That's the end of like a scrum. If you're doing scrum, you get to the end of that and you're like, what did we do right? What did we do wrong?
Well, no
But
one
that's
wants
more
to do
about
that.
that's more about your practices. A postmortem is, hey, we screwed up billing, and we need to figure out, one, the client wants to know why was it screwed up, so we have to explain it. How do we prevent it in the future? That's a postmortem.
Okay, so then can we
It's-
rename Scrum to something cooler then?
Sure.
Just
what do you want to
just
call
to
it?
get Murder Party?
That works.
Whatever. But general rule of thumb, you don't want to have to schedule postmortems. Like there shouldn't be a reoccurring postmortem. It's a very bad thing.
You want as few as possible.
Rules were meant to be broken.
All right, I did miss a card here. I wanted to throw it out, and I'm not going to talk a lot about it. But if you're interested, if you didn't catch Laracon, the Laravel conference, Laracon US, Taylor Otwell's keynote, I guess you can call it, is
That was
now.
at the end of the first day.
I think so. Is now on video. Everybody, it's free to watch. You can go watch it. We'll have links in the show notes, and the rest of the conference will be released. It just takes a long time. I mean, people who paid for it, I think, already have access and can see it. They won't release it to the public for a while still. But Taylor's talk has been released, and again, we'll throw that in the show notes. Not a whole lot to talk about there.
Groovy dooby. If we haven't already sold you on it. Hey, you guys want to talk about the anti-diversity memo from Google?
Oh my God!
It's
I was
been overplayed in the
so
media so
hoping-
much.
I was hoping you wouldn't bring this up because I honestly did not read it, so I don't know. And I've only have like been hearing about it out of the peripherals of my viewing. So
Yeah.
Typically from very angry people who are not agreeing with what he said. I have no comment on it because I have no idea what the damn thing said.
I have one comment on it.
Oh boy!
I will say this: every article that disagrees with the memo makes it impossible to read the memo. Every article that is supporting the guy has a direct link to the memo.
Okay, I'm still
That's
not
all.
gonna read it.
That's
I
all
don't
I'm
care.
saying. No,
I have
it's
a feeling he said some bad things and whatever.
yeah. The whole thing is fire. You cannot touch it. You will get burned. Do not
Yeah.
talk about it.
So happy to put it on the list.
Yeah, that's. Did you just delete it instead of copying it over to the show notes?
Copied
It's
over?
like-
I moved it
Never,
over.
like it never occurred.
It's under valet. Okay, I have to applaud you two. You guys did a fantastic job. We made it through an entire show and nobody talked about Bitcoin or blockchain. So good work. Oh, wait a minute, there's one more card.
It's okay. It's currently, we're recording Saturday, August 12th. Friggin' Bitcoin just broke through $4,000 a coin today.
4,000. Do
Yeah,
you know
and
what
to
that
be-
means? If
and
you
to be
had bought
fair-
just Bitcoins when they were like $100, even when they were $100 a piece, and you bought like 10 of them, you bought $1,000 worth of Bitcoin. Man,
Yeah, $100 7 years ago is now worth 4.7 million. If only you'd got in when it was invented and no one was
there's no way
doing it.
you did that math correctly.
That's 100% true. You know, and you opened the show by showing me your hardware wallet. So don't even act
No,
like before we were recording.
Thomas.
You didn't bring up the blockchain.
Thomas, we were leading into that.
I'm leaning into it hard.
Oh my God.
He's crashing right into it.
Yeah, I'm the Kool-Aid man, bitch.
But wait a minute, we talked about this before the show started. You were showing me the Bitcoin stuff. I didn't know we were going to talk about what. Okay, so first off, Coinbase raises $100 million at a $1.6 billion valuation. Am I saying that right?
No,
Yep,
it's just
that's it.
valuation.
Valuation.
I thought
Anyways,
that's what I said,
They raised over $100 million. $100 million.
Yeah. Now the
It-
important part about this is the Series D. Is that this was not a Series A or Series B or Series C. This is Series D funding, which makes them the first successful cryptocurrency company.
Really?
Really, really. That's why there's the unicorn. Coinbase is considered the unicorn of the cryptocurrency marketplace because they have they have hit a valuation high enough and a late enough round of funding to validate a profitable business venture. Which makes sense because they don't make coins, they don't mine, they don't do
Right,
that.
that's the thing. They don't
just
have
sell.
anything.
Right.
Well,
They're
don't
just a
even-
marketplace.
They just manage the transactions, right?
Right.
So crazy.
That's where I buy my crypto from.
Yeah, ditto.
Yeah, me
Me
too.
too. But they have a super nice website, or easy to use website, where the exchanges of the past were shady looking, in my opinion.
I agree. Yeah.
Yeah, and they weren't a whole lot different. They were just the CSS just wasn't great, which I mean speaks a lot to the value of just a good graphing library.
Yeah.
Mm. So to circle back around to what Thomas was referring to, John and I have been toying around with Bitcoin for a while. John got me involved with it a couple years back. And of course, we stop investing and then Bitcoin blows up and it's like, okay, start investing again. But we had gotten to a point where we were seriously kind of encouraging a couple of clients to start accepting Bitcoin, that we were willing to accept payment in Bitcoin. I mean, we were kind of toying around with the idea of going full-fledged Bitcoin. Now, keep in mind, I talked a couple of weeks ago, we're still evaluating this. One of those proof of concept projects I'm working on involves blockchain, which is what Bitcoin runs off of. So blockchain is another technology that I think has a lot of value, but Bitcoin itself and what it is and its impact to the world as a whole, I think is significant. And I've always kind of been wishy-washy about the fact that my wallets were always online, and there's a name for that. I forget. John, you want to explain it a little bit?
No.
What's it? It's like a soft wallet, all right? That's what they're called when they're online. It's a soft wallet.
Yeah.
So we've recently invested in hardware wallets. So now our Bitcoins are in our hand. Like we've taken them off the wire and they're now in our hand. And we have our Bitcoins now protected.
Until you lose
Now,
that thing.
Can you hold that up to the screen so we can see the serial number on it?
Yeah, it's right there. You see that? Yeah. This thing is awesome.
Ooh.
So
That is adorable.
Not only do you need a pen to get into it, but you need to see the screen because the numbers, it's like a tic-tac-toe thing, and they randomize where the numbers are. So you're not always hitting the same location on it. This thing is so cool.
Now you just need to stick a beacon, a low power Bluetooth beacon on it so you can find it when you lose it.
Yeah.
And then a Zigbee module so that you can use it without having to take it out of your pocket.
So the nice part is when you do set it up, you do get a 24 word seed, so that if you lose it, you can recover your Bitcoin. You're not totally screwed.
Yeah, but as soon as that seed is stored somewhere online, then
don't store it online. They
tell you don't even make a digital copy. Don't even take a picture of the paper you wrote it on.
I have mine stored online.
Yeah, so do I, but don't tell anybody.
I put mine in Evernote. It's not online. It's in Evernote, which is
yeah.
All my computers.
My Ethereum has gone up 50% in the last week and a half.
Is that good?
Pretty happy about it. 50% investment return. Pretty good.
I thought you weren't investing in it though.
I am now. Well, I found out that I can spend $10 at a time without my wife noticing or noticing enough to complain. So I've been slowly building a small wallet for a video card purchase.
That's basically what Eric and I do. We just a tiny little bit. Just have it recurring, and we wish we would have done it back when Bitcoin had dropped back down to $200 a coin.
Yeah. Do you ever feel like you're embezzling from your family?
How do I answer that?
Don't answer it. That's article number 2 that we don't answer on this list. Yeah, no, I'm super excited about Ethereum. Still really following it. I've managed to learn absolutely 0 Java this week.
You can store Ethereum on these, by the way, and
well, I know
they're in beta. They're in beta with the Bitcash. Bitcash.
They're like $100 though.
Yeah, they're not cheap. But if you use Bitcoin that you have had for a long time, then you basically it's
basically literally
free.
Yeah, it's just the change in the couch, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Had you invested that change,
so
Bitcoin was only $100.
So I'm actually going to a Bitcoin meetup next Thursday, where they're going to do it, talk about Ethereum, and it's supposed to be for developers, where they actually write a contract, show you how to interact with the contract, show you some of the pitfalls of contract writing. So I'm super excited about that.
Yeah, I need to think about going to that.
I'm jealous now. I wish I had a reason to travel back to San Diego sometime soon.
Yeah,
but I don't.
I've been a part of this meetup for a long time, and nothing has drawn me to go to their meetings because I was worried to be like yours.
What? You have a wave of emotions, Thomas.
Yeah, I'm really surfing this dramatic turn.
Tom, are you still talking? I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm done.
I was trying to help Thomas out.
No, we're well over our time. I think it's time to shut down.
We are. Man, this was a long show. It went by quick. I'm sweating. I need to turn my fan back on, so we need to wrap up. Gentlemen,
I need to grab my fidget spinner.
Do we have any last minute elements and any last minute? No.
Episode 71. I'm Eric Van Johnson.
I'm John Congdon.
I'm Tom Rideout. Keep it ugly.
Keep it ugly.
Oh God!
Keep it ugly. Guys. Keep it ugly.
You can't possibly make it easy for me. You have to make it difficult.
Keep it ugly.
John's like a retarded cousin. Like, keep it ugly. Keep it ugly.
Keep it ugly.
Hey, can we keep it ugly?
Oh, man.
It seems like that's the only thing.
When I said it, so I've said it like 1,000 times.
I'm stopping recording.
Keep it ugly.
Recording. Stopping broadcasting.
Here goes Zencast.